Hello everyone and welcome to Computer Tech TV. I am Rick Arter and today's video will be the first in a series on the mods and changes that I'll be doing to this HAF 912. Now I've had this case for quite a while and I can say that it's an amazing case for either air cooling or if you want to do a small water cooling build, definitely a good case for that. I would say that it's in the budget range. You can usually pick it up for $40 to $60 depending if you want a new, used, or what model you go with. This is just the base model here. I bought this when they were not really first came out, but a little while after they came out, and then they had the Plus version which has the black interior and the side panel and everything. Well, I'm kind of going to mimic that in a way. I will be painting the inside. I'm going to be using Plastidip for that. And if you're wondering why, well, if I happen to mess up, I can just peel it off and redo it, and if I don't like the way it looks, I can just take it off and actually paint it. But I figure this will be easier and it'll give me kind of an idea of what this will all look like when it's done. I also have a lot of other mods which I'll go into here in a second, and basically what I want to do with this case is I've looked up a lot of different HAF 912 builds and most of them are pretty much the same. I found one that was pretty unique compared to a lot of the other ones, and that's kind of where I'm going with this. It is going to be built for just air cooling at the moment, but by the end of the year I'm hoping to have a water cooling setup in it, and I'll go over that more in details here in a second as well. So basically what I'm going to do now is I've got everything stripped down just about. It's all pretty much ready to be taped off and painted, but I decided I would wait on that just to show you guys all the mods I'm going to be doing, let you guys give me some information on what you guys think, and then we'll go from there. Beginning with the front of the case, there isn't going to be too much radically different from the stock version. All this stuff here will stay the same. Eventually I'm probably going to change out the LEDs in here, but right now I'm just going to leave them as is. I have a Sunbeam Rio Bus 4-channel fan controller, which there's 30 watts per channel, so I'm going to split some of these off to run like 2 or 3 fans per channel, which I think will be easier. And since you can actually turn the fans on and off, that's going to help as well for quietness and efficient cooling and stuff like that. So these bays right here, now you notice I don't have an optical drive. I actually have a USB external optical drive that I'll be using, since I don't really use this, besides installing Windows, maybe watching a video here and there. So that'll be hooked up via USB. One of these here will also be running when I eventually go to water cooling. I have a, pick this up really good, cheap price on overclock.net, XSPC single bay reservoir. I have another video that I'll be making on that. But yeah, that also comes with some barbs too, so that's nice. And here's the fan controller box. I made another video about this as well. So those are what are going to take up the 2 bays here. I'm not sure which ones exactly I'm going to put those in. And I also am going to be placing the hard drive in one of these bays, and I have a Scythe hard drive cooler with a 100mm fan and heatsink and everything that goes underneath it. That should be on its way in a couple days. So I'm going to have those 3 things in there, and the hard drive will actually take 2 bays because I'm going to create a kind of cover plate over the 5 1/4 inch bays, and I'll go into that more later. And basically the hard drive is going to be taking the air from this bottom bay here, so I'll probably have it like here or something like that, and it'll take the air from that area there. I'm not sure exactly how it's all going to work out because I don't have it in yet, but I'll go over that more, and that'll be after everything's painted and everything's done with that, before I start putting everything back in. I just kind of wanted to mock this up. Cool part about this is when I had this fan control on the top, and I'll show this more once I have the case more torn down, but there's a hole here that all these cables for the USB and buttons and everything, like the power button and everything, go through, and I can actually route all these cables without having to drill another hole up through there and then run them to the fan. So that's going to help with cable management a lot. I was really happy to see that. There's a lot of other great things that's going to go along with this case, and there is a few downsides to it, and you'll see that over the next couple videos. But on the front, basically it's just kind of going to stay the way it is. I might end up painting this mesh. I want to go with the black and orange theme, but I'm just going to leave it black for right now because I'm not really sure. I always change my mind. And on the bottom, not really sure what I'm going to do because this area here is what a lot of the noise and stuff comes through, so I might create another type of filter here, and this is just loose. I only have 2 screws on this now because I was going to paint it. And yeah, so there's room for a 200 or 2 120s. I'm not exactly sure. I might just run a 200 in there for now just to cover up that area because I think it's kind of ugly just having that open like that. And like I said, I might make a filter or something to kind of further cover that up and make it a little more quiet. I could even possibly do a full cover over this instead of the mesh, and then create another area maybe on the bottom that I could create for extra airflow, or maybe through the top here, through one of these bays that could intake air. I don't know. And one thing I noticed too, and I'll show this in another video, that there's room here that you can actually put extra switches and stuff along here and have room to route the wires down, so that's cool. But other than that, that's about it for the front panel. As far as the interior goes, here's my plan. I'm going to take out this here, obviously, which I haven't really ran that in the case for a while as it is. I'm going to take the rivets out. I've already taken the screws out in the front that mount to the case itself. I'm going to take the rivets out here. This is all going to be open for now. Like I said, I'll probably just run the 200mm fan there in the front just for now. And eventually, when I do a water cooling build, I'm going to put a 240 radiator in there, and I'm going to create another big cover plate here to probably cover all that up, and I might actually mount the radiator to the plate itself. And so yeah, we'll see how that goes. But other than that, the inside's basically just going to be the way it is now, minus that, and I'll have the cover plate that'll cover this up. I originally was going to run a 140mm fan off the back of that, but I decided with the way everything's going to be, like having the fan on the top and the way everything's going to be set up, I don't think that's going to be needed, and I don't think I'm really going to have enough airflow coming through the front here to really make it worth having that fan. It would benefit the hard drive, however, but the space issue is what I'm worried about, the length of the hard drive once it's mounted, and I'll have to do some more mock-ups on that after I paint the inside. And as far as that goes, like I said, I'm going to get this prepped up, and there really isn't much that you have to do. I'm just going to hit it with some steel wool and get it all cleaned up with alcohol and a tack cloth, and then I'll shoot a few coats of Plastidip on there. I got almost a full can. And if, like I said, this ends up not working, I do have some self-etching primer and a bunch of black paint, so we can go from there. But other than that, the interior is really going to stay the same. There isn't much that I need to do. I was thinking about maybe cutting this grill out here on the back of the fan, but I'm just going to leave that as is. But I've taken out all the grommets and everything that are in the case so that you can see that there. And then these here are going to stay the way they are. I'm not sure how I'll end up routing them, but these are the cables, the MDPC sleeving that was done by CyberDruid, so I really appreciate that. That was worth every penny of what I paid. So I guess alright, so I've just about got the case totally stripped down besides the stuff that I have to rivet out, and removing these feet from the Cooler Master case is pretty simple, but you kind of got to look at it at first, because I was wondering how you got to do it, but basically there's little tabs in here and you can feel them, and you just squeeze them and then it'll pop through. Sometimes if you don't catch both of them, there you go. So if you look at that, so it has little tabs there. There you go, now you can see it. And you basically just try to squeeze those, and you can use like needle nose pliers or something like that, but your fingers work just as good if you have nails, which I don't. It works even better. So there you go, pop those off, and should be easy to replace these with aftermarket feet, which is probably what I'm going to do. Raise it up a little more, give it a little nicer look to go along with the black inside with maybe some orange accents. Well, my goal is I don't really want a whole lot of orange. Maybe the mesh drive bays, maybe the bay covers here, and then the cable extensions and stuff would be orange. But other than that, everything else will be black. That way, if I do want to switch up my color scheme, black goes with anything. And with the Plastidip, if I end up really not liking it, I can just rip it all off. And if I want to use white, they have white Plastidip. They have all kinds of colors, or I could just have it painted, powder coated, whatever, you know. So this is kind of just an experiment to see what I can do. But I kind of want to make this a very unique HAF 912. And like I said, I've looked at a lot of builds, and I've only seen one or two, you know, just a handful that really stood out from the crowd. So that's kind of what I'm going for. And if you guys have any other ideas or tips or tricks, please let me know. I'm all up for that. I'm not an arrogant person. I'm all about taking other people's advice to make my job easier. So I guess it's alright. I've got the top of the HAF 912 taped off. Everything else is going to be Plastidip in the black. You can see I got my can of Plastidip, and I got a few different grades of steel wool just to give it a finish just it can bite on too. Probably not really necessary. From what I hear, you can just spray this stuff on, but I'll hit it with the steel wool just to make sure, just so it's out of the way in case I do have to paint it later on. And then I'll hit it with some alcohol and a tack rag. And then we'll hit some Plastidip on there. Alright guys, well, to finish up this part 1 of the HAF 912 case mod project, I'd show you guys some actual progress, something you probably haven't seen in a long time from me. So as you can see, I was doing a little bit of work here. I got the hard drive cage out. Didn't have the proper drill bit. I couldn't find my drill bit that I used for getting this out, so I had to use 2 other ones, but it ended up coming out, didn't damage the case or the hard drive cage or anything, so I can go right back in if it needs to one day. And got my mask, not the best thing, but I'm out in a well ventilated area outside, so you know it's good enough for just doing this. I need to get something a little better. And I guess I'll show you the case. Now I know this looks pretty bad, but I only have like one real thin coat just to get a baseline here, because this is actually the first time I've used a rattle can in a long time. So I kind of wanted to start with the bottom a little bit, and you can see here it's not coming out all that great, but like I said, I think I'll improve as I go on, and if I do really screw this up, I can always just peel it right back off once I get, 4 or 5 layers of it on there. And I covered up a little bit of the fan there because that's going to be covered up. I just have the area where the fan mounts, and then just the area around there so it looks all normal when the fan's in there. So you can see I just got, a light dusting pretty much everywhere here on the case. Did a little more on the outside than I did on the inside. And I didn't actually get on the other side at all. The case is pretty much just laying like this. Like I said, I don't really have the proper setup, and the only place I can do it is kind of in the wind, so it's kind of a pain in the you-know-what trying to paint anything around here because the way the wind is and the weather, and it's pretty humid today. Might be one of the reasons why it didn't lay down too good, but I'm gonna let this dry overnight, and I'm off here another 2 days or so, or I should say 2 days from now I'll be off, so probably the next time you'll see another video on this, I'll try to get some more progress done. So that about wraps it up, guys. Any tips or tricks, like I said, you got anything to help me out, that'd be great. Like I said, I don't claim to know everything, but I'm hoping this is going to turn out great. And as you can see here, like I cut out that hard drive cage, and I want to do and I figure once this dries all the way by the end of the night, I'll start doing mock-ups for my cover plates. I'm going to have one here that goes over all this, cover up around the power supply, and then I'll have one that goes around here. Not sure what I'll do with these tabs, not sure if I'll leave them or cut them off, but be there for now. But you can see how much extra space I have here, so you can fit a 200, 2 120s, or they claim you can fit a 240 rad I think here, but I think I might need to do a little modification for that. So alright guys, that wraps it up. Thanks a lot for watching. Comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll talk to you all soon.